The jury deliberated for just 3 hours. Did that surprise you before they reached their verdict?
Well, nothing surprises me when it comes to court and cases, really. You just never know. These are people, they're strangers to me, strangers to each other, and they're sitting, and could be 12 of you on that jury, and how would I know what you're thinking? You're just listening and digesting it all. But my experience is when jurors have sat and listened to something for 6 weeks, over 800 exhibits presented, when they go back to deliberate, they don't want to look at those 800 exhibits. They don't want to spend their time combing through everything that they have laboriously sat there and listened to for that period of time. And you know, it took them 3 hours, and you know, that's about normal as far as I'm concerned.
Well, here I have to ask, I watched the sentencing, and this was a person who practiced law in front of you. Did that make it any more difficult for you as the judge sentencing him after you knew him and he practiced in front of you?
Well, being from a small rural community and being from a relatively small state, I've had to handle cases where I knew the person who was accused or knew the victims, and you know, judges have to make an individual determination as to whether they can be fair and impartial. But my test is not whether I know the person or knew of the person. It has to be whether my knowledge of them would affect my ability to be fair and impartial. And we weren't personal friends, but since he was from a popular firm and popular lawyer, all judges, every judge in the state either knew him or knew of him. And when it came to sentencing, the fact that I knew him, of course, when you go through a trial, a murder trial or long trial, you always know the defendant by the time you get to the end. That's someone who has been there with you for a long period of time. So whether you knew them beforehand or not, by the time you get to that point, you sort of know that person. But it did not affect me as far as rendering the sentence that I did.
Well, let's talk about that sentence. I mean, that was there's usually 30 days before you have a sentencing hearing, and we order a pre-sentence investigation. Tell us what happened at that sentencing, and how did that all come about? Because the verdict was this day, and the next day was the sentencing. So tell us how that happened.
The verdict was Thursday night around 7 p.m., and you know, we were all pretty exhausted by that time. So I'm anticipating that the lawyers would want some time to prepare for sentencing, and I was prepared to wait for whatever period of time it would have taken for a pre-sentence investigation and report to be provided to me. So when I asked the lawyers, how long would it take? When will you all be ready? And they said 9:30 tomorrow morning. So we have no mandatory requirement of getting a pre-sentence investigation. Of course, I didn't think I really needed one, but I was giving them that opportunity to present whatever mitigation evidence they wanted. And they said they'd be ready the next morning. Of course, they all were working out of town from their home location and had been away from home for 6 weeks, and I think they all were ready to kind of get the case over with. So they said they'd be ready 9:30 the next morning, and 9:30 the next morning, I'm then prepared to hear what the lawyers have to tell me, and whatever person they have to say something, including family members, friends, whatever. And they told me nothing. They had nothing to say, nothing to present. So I'm left at a situation, okay, well, what do you have to say? Asking the defendant.
But did you have notes or anything prepared for this at this time?
No.
Nothing?
No.
All right. So the prosecution presents nothing. The defense offers nothing. So what do you do?
Well, I'll take it all the way back to law school. I could go through a semester and end up with a page and a half of notes. I've never been a great note taker. I've just been engaged in everything at the moment and trying to perform without having to do something scripted, like your questions are scripted, right?
All scripted. So good. I only have 30 minutes here. Come on.
I have my notes. I try not to be scripted. So no, I'm just focused in the moment and trying to absorb everything that's involved in this case and this process and trying to make the proper determination at a given point in time. So here we are, and he's standing before me to be sentenced for having been convicted of a double murder. And basically he told me he had nothing to say either, other than it wasn't me.
Boy, your comments were just so appropriate at that time, and I just think that the community, the world, watched that and just thought, wow, this judge has it together. And I was just amazed at, I know everyone has heard what you said, but just in the one comments is in referring to the shooting death, within your own soul, you have to deal with that. And I know that you have to see Paul and Maggie during that nighttime when you're attempting to go to sleep, and I'm sure they'll come and visit you. And then he responds all day and every night. And then you say, and they will continue to do so, and reflect on that last time they looked in your eyes. And I was just like, wow. And then you just went right to the side. It was just amazing. And just the way you handled it was just, unbelievable. And good.
Yeah. Well, a person who kills another person, I'm told that the person who is killed will come back, and they'll never be able to get over the moment in time that they took that person's life. Now, whether that's a spiritual belief or just my view of the world, is also the subject of a barbershop conversation one day when a customer was arguing to the barber, saying that if you kill a man, he will haunt you. He'll come back, and you'll never be able to get that person out of your mind. So we don't have any convicted murderers here, do we?
I don't think so.
So we don't have the actual experience of knowing whether that's true or not, but I posed that question to him, and in my mind, no doubt he loved his family. I don't believe that he hated his wife, and certainly I did not believe that he did not love his son. But he committed an unforgivable, unimaginable crime, and there's no way that he'll be able to sleep peacefully, given those facts.
There's certainly going to be a movie and a mini-series about this, and I was joking with the judge and his wife, who do you think will play you? And I was thinking like Morgan Freeman, right? And he looked at me and said, no, he's too old. And then his wife said maybe Denzel Washington, and he was more into that. Who do you think would play you in a movie?
Oh, boy. And Judge Nugent said I should play myself.
There you go, all right. There you go.
I don't know. This story is continuing to be written. I would never would have thought that I would be involved in a case that would have garnered so much notoriety that it would be something that would be talked about nationwide. I've received letters from all over the world about this case. It's really been truly amazing. So I don't know what the future holds as far as movies or anything else. I do know that we have mandatory retirement in South Carolina at the age of 72. and I turned 72 in November, so I'll be looking for something else to do.
There you go.